The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
It's Wednesday, May 16th, Thursday, May 17th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, live from the Great White North and the Caribou region, on top of the rainy mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR radio network, including thefringe.fm. You can also check us out live on periscope.tv every Monday through Friday night, because I'd love to show off my face for radio. And you can check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, if you want to check out our archives. Do me a favor, hit the old subscribe button on that. I would appreciate that. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, has a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to some Bubblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read The Encounter online, my latest blog is there as well, or watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. We've made it to Hump Day, and we're still alive, we're still breathing, and we are still talking the paranormal tonight on the mighty SOR, and it's going to be a good one, because if you heard hour 3 of last night's show, you heard me tell a story about what happened to me at the Paranormal Ghost Walk this past weekend. Well, on Ghosts of the Great White North, Mike Morin, along with Jason and Blair Jordan from Haunted Crew of Canada, are going to join us to give their side of the story of the attack on Old Davy here at the 108 Mile Ranch Heritage Site. And I thought these ghosts liked me. Apparently not. Hours 2 and 3, we are going to head over one province to the Canadian province of Alberta, where Melissa and Rob will be jumping in on the ghosts of CowTown. Melissa and Rob from Calgary Paranormal. But first, we bring in Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. Michael, what's going on, Mall Cop?
Nothing much. The tiddlywinks. I brought some friends with me tonight.
I know. I actually... I wanted to prepare the audience, Mike, for what happened on the weekend, and thank you so much for you, Derek, Blair, and Jason, for coming on up this past weekend to share with us the tour. I thought it was a lot of fun. You guys all stayed at my house. It was probably a little too short a time, but nonetheless, it brings us to another Ghost of the Great White North and another really cool adventure, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Mike, for people who don't know who you are and are just tuning in for the first time, explain how you got into the paranormal.
I got into the paranormal as a young boy with lots of encounters with ghosts. First encounter was my scariest way back in the province of Manitoba, where I experienced some sort of... I didn't see it, but I heard a heavy-set man walking up from a basement, and I could hear him stomping on the stairs. The door would swing open. I observed the door swing open, and I could feel the vibration of his feet stomping all over the kitchen floor. And then it would go downstairs. And then it would do that all night. So from there, I'm like, there's something going on beyond the living. And that sparked my interest with the paranormal. Been fiending ever since.
And you are a fiend indeed. I want to introduce Jason and Blair Jordan from Haunted Crew of Canada joining us. I got to meet them. I've heard all about you guys, but I finally got to meet you guys when you came into my carport, and I'm like, who the hell are these people? No, but seriously, I've heard a lot of great things about you guys, and thank you so much for coming over to SOR headquarters, even if it was such a short visit, but I hope, Jason, we can do it again.
Absolutely. That was a good time.
And Blair, thank you. And it was your birthday on Saturday as well, so we had a little bit of a birthday celebration. You looked beautiful for just turning 29.
Thank you.
It's the way it goes. It's the way it goes. So, for those who didn't tune in last night, we had a very, very serious situation happen at the ghost tour. Many of our listeners here know about the ghost hunt that I run once a month, and next month it'll start every 2 weeks, where we raise money for the local museum. And the majority of you out there have gone on my Facebook profile or my Twitter profile, or you have liked our 108 Mile Ghost Tours page on Facebook and seen the photo of the guy on the stairs. Well, he attacked me on Saturday night. I have never been attacked by a spirit before, and it was something I really don't want to happen again, but I know if I keep dabbling in this, it probably will. It goes with the territory. Am I fearful? No. Do I feel like I learned something from it? Yes. But Mike, I bring you in right off the bat here because last year you had different members of your crew up here, and we had a similar situation because we just passed the 1-year anniversary of Willie's meltdown, Willie the Ghost.
That's true. First and foremost, I'd like to say little Davy's cherries pop.
What?
Got bruised.
You broke up there.
You got attacked for the first time. Little Davy's cherries popped for getting paranormal attacked, or ghost attacked. I too got attacked that night. I got grabbed on the arm and got a little bit of a bruise, which was kind of scary.
Well, we'll get into that, what happened, but it started off, Mike, if I do recall, and I want you to paint a picture for me, because before you guys came up, your psychic medium, who's been on this show many a times, Derek White Sky Cloud, actually had a little bit of a premonition going into this.
Yeah,
yes,
he did. Jay, do you want to take it, or do you want? Yeah, go for it.
Well, we discussed it on the whole trip up, and Derek was rather adamant that somebody was definitely going to be getting attacked, and he was actually long before we even arrived at your house, Dave, he said somebody was going to get sick. And he, to a T, when you came out of the barn and that look on your face and what happened to you, to me, it was almost exactly what Derek had, his premonition. He's what he thought. He said it was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah, it was pretty weird, man. It was pretty weird. I didn't expect that to happen. But before we get to that, because that is going to be the focal point of what we talk about here in the first hour here, Jason and Blair, I want to bring you guys in for, how long have you guys been ghost hunting?
About 5 years now, I would have said. Somewhere around 5 years.
Yeah, a little bit longer for me. I kind of brought Jason into it, but not much longer than that.
Now, Jason and Blair, I'm going to assume that you guys are sitting really close together. I'm going to ask you to spread apart because we're getting some echoing in between you.
Okay.
Over the phone. So, act like a real married couple and be in separate rooms or something.
Okay, done.
Excellent.
He's in a whole different room.
There you go. I hope it's not the bathroom. So if we hear flushing, we know where Jason went. But nonetheless, I have to say, Blair, you guys have been doing this a long time. You are, I'm going to call you a closet psychic medium because I had heard rumors that you were, but when I kind of tested you on it, you dodged the question whether you were sensitive or not, and then by the end of the night, you were saying, hell yeah, I'm feeling all this. I'm getting all this. It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to see that. Why do you keep so quiet about it?
I don't know. I've always kept quiet about it. It's just one of those things that you don't tend to share with a lot of people because they kind of look at you sideways like you've got two heads. So, I don't know. I've always been a quiet person about it.
Is it something that bothers you?
No, not at all. I love it. I absolutely love it.
So why keep it quiet? Just because of the way society thinks?
Exactly.
I'm
starting to get over it, but there's still a lot of people out there that are like, okay, you're a whack job.
Yes, I get that every now and again as well. But nonetheless, it's a very, very cool thing to, have that ability to walk into a place and kind of know what's there. Getting back to the tour, Mike, I bring you back in here now because, well, you are usually with me on this show. Take us through the night from when we arrived. To you guys, it had been a while since you had been at the museum. Jason and Blair had never had. Derek had been about a year. Was there any different feeling going on to the museum that day?
A little bit. I think, when was I there, Dave? March or April, I came up and visited you with all the snow. So we didn't get in a lot of the buildings. We just got into your post house. But this time Derek, the whole 5.5 hours was something bad's going to happen. Somebody's going to get sick. Someone's going to get sick. I have it on our GoPro, too, where he said it quite a bit because we always film ourselves yapping and whatnot when we're driving up. And I'm like, okay, Derek, okay, it's going to happen. And so when we started your public tour, the post house, I don't feel much anymore. Maybe it's because I'm at peace with it. The bunkhouse, that's the first time I've ever done the bunkhouse. The bunkhouse is beside the post house. And was the bunkhouse, Dave, back in the day, a trapper's? What's the history on the bunkhouse? How would you paint that picture?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know everything about that facility or the buildings.
All right. Well, it looks like an old cabin where a bunch of hunters from the 1800s would spend some time when they're not in the bush hunting. That place was really good. I've got some video I can send you where we got a lot of good K2 and REM pod hits. No, it's kind of like a proximity sensor, EMF sensor. It's kind of like a bubble over an antenna, and if you break that bubble, it makes a loud annoying noise.
Well, we can talk about that later, whatever you send me, because we got to get the show rolling here in regards to what happened, Mike. In regards to the events of that night, you had said that it felt a little different. What do you mean by that? Because I looked at it this way, and I want to break it down for our audience. Last May, when we started our first full year of the tour, we had an incident. This May, we had an incident. Our numbers from April 2017 dropped to May, same as 2018. We dropped about 10 people on the tour that just didn't show up. And we, of course, had the incidents. Now, I talked to somebody on Monday about the event and said, why is it always in May that this stuff is happening? And because he's one of the volunteer organizers for the heritage site, he basically said that he believes it's because in May we start getting ready for tourism season, and everybody's hustling and bustling in the buildings, and they're moving things, they're cleaning things up. It's a lot of work to get going for the tourism season, and this person thought, Mike, that it was something that maybe, just maybe, that was what was causing it, is that every year there's a lot of, nerves and tension and making sure the buildings are all straight. Do you buy that?
I buy that somewhat. I do agree that changing an area where a spirit frequents probably upsets them or changes kind of their jive, so to speak. But your barn, we'll talk about the barn because that's where you had your thing, I had my thing. The energy in the barn was like, because how long have we been investigating there? 3, coming on 4 years now. I've never felt the negativity in that barn before. It was like a whole new exhibit, a whole new place to investigate. I felt unsettled. Normally, I can walk in that barn in the middle of the night by myself, and let me tell you this: I wouldn't even walk through the door without somebody basically holding my hand.
No, it was weird.
Yeah, and I discussed it with Derek too. I'm like, Derek, the chi is off in this barn. I think, and that's Derek's like, so, again. He's like, someone's gonna, by the end of the night, it's gonna be here, and then that leads on to your thing. What happened to you? It was during the tour that you actually got hit with all the public there.
That is exactly right. Exactly right. Jason and Blair, this was your first time at the museum. Jason, I'm going to start with you. What did you feel going into the barn area?
The barn made me, I don't have the ability like Derek and Blair do. But even for myself, to going in, I don't sense things necessarily. The energy has to be very, very thick for me to pick up on it. And I had, even myself walking in there, I was just very, very uneasy, feeling of being watched. It didn't matter where you were in there. Somebody was watching you, just anything, like someone's going to be peeking around the corner and the horse stalls at you. Just always, you just got the feeling I was definitely not alone in there, but I couldn't pick up, and it didn't feel good. Like I didn't get all happy, fuzzy feelings and whatever, like whatever was in there didn't want you there. But I didn't really feel, I felt threatened, but not threatened at the same time. Like I didn't want to, uneasy enough, but I didn't want to, I wouldn't proceed down the hallway by myself. Not without somebody watching my back. But that's coming from somebody who doesn't sense things.
Blair, how about yourself? How did you feel going into that barn area?
The energy was very heavy. Like Mike had said, it was negative. It didn't feel like we were wanted. But there was also a odd curiosity behind the energy. But yeah, it was pretty annoyed for the most part. There was a couple of times where I'm like, Mike, I don't want to walk down there. So yeah, no, it wasn't friendly.
So for people who are just listening in here, the barn on our museum site is about a 50-yard Clydesdale barn. It's 2 stories. It is something that is very, very old. It was built in 1919, so we're coming up on the 100-year anniversary of the barn. And it was built as a remembrance for a captain who was killed in World War I. So it was built as a memento and something to remember everybody by, well, at least the wartime veteran at the time. So we have picked up veterans in that building before. So one of the things that we had going is we had a lot of action in there before, and then we caught the photo. So to paint the picture of what we are investigating is there's no cement, it's a dirt floor, the upstairs is all wood, it's built on an A-frame, so that way it can be held together, because it is it's like a log cabin type barn. So it's very, very cool indeed in regards to the way it is holding up, and we're always trying to take care of it to make sure that everything is up and ready, that the birds are out of there. We put up owls to make sure the birds and the starlings don't get in there, but they still manage to do that somehow. So with this barn, we've always had activity downstairs with who we call the Shadow Man. We've always had activity with who we call the man upstairs, the man who is on the walkway. And once again, if you've seen the photo, that would be absolutely great because you would know who we are talking about. Photo can be seen on Twitter, on Facebook, on the 108 Ghost Tours page on Facebook if you want to check it out while we are speaking about this. And we've never had any troubles up until Saturday. So, as you heard Mike and you heard Jason and Blair say, there was definite tension around that building. And what got it started was I walked in to the building because one of our tour guides, her name is Carrie, was really wanting to go in the barn, but she was feeling really unsettled. She was feeling a very, very much unsettled portion of her body. She just did not want to go there. So I volunteered to go in there with her. And so when we were in there, we went upstairs, we took our tour upstairs, and there were 5 women, Carrie and myself, and we immediately saw him on the stairwell. And that's where all hell kind of broke loose. Carrie went up the stairwell. She kind of got frozen. I went over there to help up the stairs to help Carrie. Saw the gentleman on the catwalk. I pushed him, not physically pushed him, but told him to go step down at the catwalk. In the meantime, we had this 18-year-old girl who was on the second floor below the catwalk who was getting a lot of anxiety. I went and helped her. Then we took the tour out of the barn. And that's where I noticed that this dude was attached to me. So you guys were all around that area when I walked up to the house. What did you guys see? Start with you, Jason.
Well, I think I was the first one that saw you and you came walking up because you asked me, where's Derek? You definitely needed help. So luckily Derek was actually standing there, so I got his attention for you, and he was able to help, but you didn't look well. You looked very troubled. You had a look on your face like, I don't know what the hell just happened to me. You had a real startled look. I myself have never been attacked physically like that before, so I can only imagine what was going on through your head. I've seen it happen. I've actually seen it happen to Mike, and now I've seen it happen to you. Not something I'm really looking forward to having happen, but I'm sure it's going to eventually happen.
Yeah, you look...
Go ahead.
You looked quite panicked, Dave. I've never seen you panic. You almost was gray complexion. Yeah, and the puke. Well, I don't know if you puked, but you're dry heaving pretty good. I thought some stuff was going to come up. Derek got to you pretty quickly, and Derek did. What did he actually do to you? Did he? I didn't see because I was talking to some of your guests because they were watching too. But what did he cleanse you right then and there?
Yeah, what happened was, I don't really recall. It's about 200 yards from the barn to the house. And I have no recollection of getting there until I actually saw Jason. And I said, where's Derek? I need Derek. I've been attacked. Or something along those lines. And that's where Derek, I remember kind of looking up, trying to find him, and I couldn't see him. And then all of a sudden, I saw him kind of walk down the stairs of the house and come right for me. Because I did not feel well at all. I did not feel well. Blair, you saw what happened. What was going through your mind?
Well, I could see that you were definitely in distress. I mean, it almost looked like you couldn't even breathe, like you were being choked. Yeah, it was a little disturbing, but you were able to speak enough to ask for Derek's help. So yeah, you did look distressed and a little scared.
It was, well, neighbor Dawn in the chat room who was there that night said Dave looked white and sick. So Dave being me. So it was something that I'd never experienced. Like I felt like vomiting. I felt lightheaded. I felt that something was off. Like it wasn't that I felt out of control. It wasn't like I felt like somebody was in my body. I just knew it was happening because all of a sudden nothing felt right. And at times I felt like I couldn't even say certain words. Like I was struggling to talk. Mike, when you got attacked before, did you struggle to talk to get what was out?
Yes, I also got panicky because I don't like to lose control. And I felt when I got attacked at the Bailey house, you can't really predict that, man. You feel an invisible hand choke you. How do you explain that? And then you feel an invisible force push you. Then you feel an invisible force put energy on you that's so scary and makes you so anxious and panicky, you basically tuck tail and run. Which is exactly what I did. Once I felt the choking, I was out of that house. And I did the same thing as you. I went outside and it was like, what the heck just happened here? And I did the dry heaving. I puked. And I had Blair come out. And yeah, it's the worst feeling. I don't remember the point of when I decided to leave the room to get outside. Like, I don't remember going down the stairs, going through the house to get out, which sounds similar to you. Do you remember the initial attack for you?
No. What I remember is when we gathered, after I helped the 18-year-old girl who was sitting on the stage who was getting anxiety, we gathered the group together and I said, okay, let's head downstairs. You know, this just is not feeling right now. And so I let all the women go downstairs, and then Carrie followed, and then I followed behind the 6 women just to make sure that nothing was happening. And I think if I did get hit, because I don't recall feeling anything or feeling out of the ordinary, I recall walking down the stairs, and I remember thinking going down the stairs, when I get outside, I got to shake off the energy that I picked up. I have to go and walk outside, kick my shoes off, and start walking along the grass, trying to drain everything into Mother Earth like I've been taught. And it was something that I just felt that it needed to be done that way. So that's what I did. And got outside, and once I started kind of taking my shoes off and walking around, I had socks on my feet, but I was still walking onto the ground. That's when the dry heaving started. And when the dry heaving started, that's where I knew, after I got a couple out, I didn't want to freak out our guests that were on the tour, so I quickly kind of tightened myself up, which is hard because there's a lot of elasticity around here. But nonetheless, I walked back to the group, said, I am okay, I am fine, let's head back to the house. And I left the group there. And I guess they were following behind me. I don't know how far, but I just know I had to beeline it to the house, and my whole focus on getting to the house was finding Derek. Because I had enough memory to know that you guys were in the house at that time, which made me feel a little bit better, if you know what I'm saying.
Truth. Now, here's a question for you, Dave. How do you feel now?
Sunday was a write-off. Sunday felt like I was absolutely hungover, and since then I felt absolutely great until today, where my sciatic nerve is kicked up again, and I'm like sitting on a real plush pillow right now in my studio, making me look about 1.5 inches taller than what I am. But nonetheless, that's what we were going through. And go ahead.
Oh, hello, you there?
Yeah, waiting for you to talk, man.
Oh, my computer glitched. I was going to say, I dubbed that the paranormal hangover. After a night of investigating and you feel like crap the next day, especially if your energy's been compromised or you've been messed with the spirit. It's always a paranormal hangover. It usually takes me like 1 to 4 days to get back to the normal groove. That's why I was curious how you were feeling today. Because, nothing, Like, nothing, experiencing no paranormal stuff in your house since that day? Not even a little bit?
Nothing. It's been nice and weird, but I think it's because I'm a little bit on guard. I'm a little bit on guard right now. I mean, I've got the business to be focused on right now, which is Spaced Out Radio. I think what'll happen is we're going to start construction on our new studio next week, and I think that's when we may see a little bit of an uptick on everything. So it's going to be interesting to watch and see how that goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see our next investigation in June to see if it's the same. But like even now, I get the sense the barn is off. I know you had a chat with the barn guy, we'll call him, before we left that night. But I don't think he's overly happy or settled. Would you agree, Blair or Jay?
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just sitting there waiting.
I think he is too, but we seem to cut a deal. He seemed to get a little bit peaceful. We're going to offer him probably something, just like we did with Willie. Willie gets, every night when we go into Willie's room, we bring whiskey and we bring a cigarette for him. So we're going to make a nice peace offering for the man on the stairs as well. Whether or not that works, I have no idea if it will, but we're going to try. And, we're going to follow up by, weird, because as I'm saying that, I'm getting a chill that it actually might. So we're probably going to have to do the exact same thing as we were doing for Willie as well for this guy, because we got to find out a little bit more about him. It's not over with him, we know that, but it's very, very intriguing what's going to happen. I got a lot of people on the social media saying, hey, burn some incense or some sage for him. With the tour and how dry it is up here and the buildings being so old and dry and rickety, we can't just leave something burning in the buildings. That's the problem. We would have to station somebody in those buildings in order to, continue to have that happen. So we got to figure something out. So, like, leaving candles there or leaving sage there or burning some incense or whatever it is, it's something that come June 9th, we're going to have to figure it out. But then again, it could be that it's the Mikey Morin factor, Jay and Blair. It could be the Mikey Morin factor.
Or maybe he was putting on a show for our first time.
Could be.
I'm always the victim. You remember that, okay?
I do remember.
I think you should leave an acoustic guitar in there, because when we were investigating in there with the public group, and when we were there after, the K2 would light up like a Christmas tree whenever we would play Hank Williams Sr., to be exact.
And he liked to dance.
And he liked to dance. So I think you should put an acoustic guitar in there, even like an old rickety one that nobody plays, just to symbolize it.
Well, the problem is it the cowboy from downstairs who comes up to dance, or is it this guy?
That's a good point, because you can feel the energy imbalance and the kind of paranormal, ghosty chest posturing between the entities in the barn. I think the bad guy in there, he's transient. I don't think he's from the building, because I remember the first time we investigated there, the second, the third, nothing was like that. It was always mostly positive and happy. We would get some EVPs in there, nothing too freaky, nothing too bad. But yeah, man, this last time, that was different. I'd like to check it out again more extensively.
From what I understand, too, and Blair, maybe you can pick up on this energetically, I know he is pissed off that we were able to capture him twice on pictures. Last year, September, was the first picture we got. That's the really good picture that everybody has seen. And then last month we got another picture of him which shows half his face down below. So I find that very interesting that, we've got two pictures of him, and I honestly believe that maybe he's just a little PO'd that we have caught him on film. And that's what's bothering me. Blair, what do you think?
I think you're definitely onto something there, because when people had their cameras out and everything, you could feel like this challenging energy. It was almost just like, you're in my space, you're not going to get me again, and it like you wanted to just charge right at you.
Did charge at Carrie, and he did charge at me, and I was able to push him back, and that's where he got pissed off, was that I pushed him back and told him to leave the lady alone, right? And I don't think...
So you challenged him too.
Yeah. Yeah, I challenged him up after he ran at Carrie. And see, here's the point that you guys don't know. Carrie told me. And this is where it gets a little, creepy. When I was cleansing Carrie, when her and I were hand to hand and I was getting her to take her energy, she was looking directly at me, and we were literally, a foot away, less than a foot away from each other. And she said that at that point, and I just remembered this, at that point she saw my face morph into his. And my eyes went like jet black. And it was just like shadows around my eyes. And she saw his face. And she said that, when she told me that, I believe it was Sunday night or Monday, she said that really, really freaked her out. Like, she knew I was there, but looking at this guy through me, it was much like, Mike, what you guys had with Derek up at Barkerville.
What day did that happen on, when she saw that?
That night, Mike. We're talking about the ghost hunt.
Okay, I'm just confirming. I think you should smudge if she's seeing that sort of thing. Because I agree with Blair that I when people had their cameras out or when we were talking, I would feel that he would get more and more upset. So I'm wondering if he thinks we're exposing him or not just saying the right things to him or offering him the right thing to make him feel better.
That could very well be. Jason, what's your thoughts?
My thought is, he does definitely not like getting his picture taken or the exposure, but the difference in the energy when we were playing music, because we put the cameras down, when we were playing the music, and we just had audio recorders running, and the energy did change from there. Like, it was like he wasn't worried about being exposed. His picture wasn't there. He was just there. The music was going out. You're right. It could be the cowboy from upstairs that was joining us. But the energy did change when we put the cameras down and we were just playing fiddle music.
Well,
the energy was much more positive.
I know Bazooka Joe and Bazookette, so you know them as Mark and Tara. I know they were they're in the chat room right now listening to this. And I think Bazooka Joe has a fiddle. I believe he does have a fiddle. Now, Bazooka Joe or Bazookette, if you could actually confirm that, because that might be something that we got to try going into the next ghost hunt, is maybe station Joe in there and play some fiddle music while we're upstairs to kind of ease that, or maybe some recordings.
Derek said that he really liked fiddle. So we were combing through my old classic country with it was the most fiddly type music, and that's when we would get a lot of K2 hits and more relaxed energy. Our little group that we were with was actually happy, and people were laughing and whatnot. But once the music stopped and the optics were picked up again, that's when it got cold again. That's when it got a little more somber. So I'm kind of, now that Jay brings that point up, I'm wondering if the optics are what throws him off because he's worried about getting his photo again or being exposed or something like that.
And, we just going to, I think, we're just got to figure out some security measures. That's what we need to do. But let's continue on with the story, guys, because after I got attacked. You guys, as a group, went into the barn. So, Jason, maybe you can describe what happened when you guys got to the barn, then went in. Did you feel anything? Was it different? Explain it to me.
It was definitely, I got the real threatening sense that it was just waiting. Like, okay, here comes new faces. Here comes some new people. What are they going to bring to the table? You know, like it didn't seem to be, it was ready for a challenge. We initially went in, and I went right up to the top catwalk, and I took pictures all the way down the thing as if, you know, maybe after what had happened to you wasn't such a smart idea. But I'm just still trying to, you know, fire through those pictures. And then when we got back downstairs, we regathered as a group. The energy was still at that point really thick, really dark, just not right. And then we started playing the music. And once we started playing that music, it was just, the whole room seemed to almost lighten up a little bit. Like not just energy wise, but it almost seemed like it wasn't as dark in there. If that makes any sense.
But describe the difference, Jason, between the first level of the barn, which is your entryway, and the second level, because really it's two different sets of energy, isn't it?
It is. The downstairs part just seems very, like when you walk in where all the stables and stuff are, the energy in there, I would not be comfortable walking right down to the end, you know, not by myself. But once you got, it was that the parts that really freaked me out the most was definitely the catwalk up there. It is heavy. The main floor part, I just got the sense that, you know, you're being watched from that catwalk up there, right where that picture was taken. Whatever it is, it's up there. And then the very bottom part, but that main floor, like where the little stage part was and stuff, you know, that's where we were playing the music and what have you. And it didn't seem too bad. There, but definitely the catwalk and definitely right at the entrance. It was the heaviest when you first walk in the door for me.
How about you, Blair?
When I first walked into the barn, the entryway, directly to my left, I could feel someone there. Definitely a male energy. Like Jay said, it was difficult to walk down to the very end of the barn. The energy just got heavier and heavier, but it was directed differently, almost to the right and up. It was very strange. But in comparison to the energy that's upstairs, yeah, I would prefer to be downstairs, to be honest.
Hey, Blair, you should share when you and I were upstairs together when it was just the two of us. At the end of the night.
Say that.
Well, just let me lead up to that for a second, Mike, because you know when you were in that barn and you walked in there that time, you said it felt a little bit off than regular. What difference were you noticing from floor 1 to floor 2?
Who is that question for?
For you, Mike.
Oh, all right. Downstairs, just like Jay said, it was very relaxed, almost like a cowboy down there with just tending to the horses, easy peasy, happy-go-lucky. But when you would go upstairs, start to walking up the stairs, to get up to the first level, you got to go up like 2 flights of stairs, I guess. And it felt somber. The immediate temperature drop, but not your typical temperature drop, like an energy temperature drop. And very unwelcoming, being watched, but aggressively being watched. I didn't go on the catwalk. I went up the stairs, halfway up the stairs of the catwalk, and back down because I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like something would rush me off the catwalk or push me down the stairs. I didn't overly enjoy it up there. I kind of got moody up there, and I felt that was a reflection of whatever spirit was up there, was making people a little more cranky, moody, trying to warn them off from being up there.
It was... Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, the catwalk for me, I mean, I did go up there, and it was... When I was walking down and clicking pictures the whole way, I just had that... I was... You know how like that feeling where you tense up, like you're ready to take a punch? That's how I was feeling when I was up there. And I had a really I cannot remember the gentleman's name that was with me, but he was a big man, and he was standing right behind me, and I was Mark, yeah, and I'm glad he was, because of, I literally, even though I was clicking pictures, I just had that sense of, I was tensed up, like I was going to take a punch, and if I was going to fall, at least I had someone to catch me.
You know what's funny? Later on, when the tour ended, we all went out. We were able to regain our thoughts and composure, because after the tour, we go to the local pub that kind of sponsors us for a meal, and we go in there and check things out. And we decided that you guys wanted to go back into the facility to do some filming for your own crew and your own work that you guys are doing with Haunted Crew of Canada. And we decided to all hit the barn. But Mike, you and Blair went into the barn first. Why don't you describe kind of what you went in there for? Because it was just you two. So take us from the time we arrived back at the museum.
Oh yeah, I was itching to get back in that barn. I felt kind of like defending you for what happened to you, and getting to the bottom of why that happened to you, because you're there with good intent. Every time you go there every month, you're raising money for the historic site to help make it a better place, fix all the buildings. So I wanted to take it upon myself to communicate with whatever was in the barn as to why it would attack you in such a vicious way, to make you come out look all flustered and panicked and dry heave everywhere. Why did that happen? So Blair and I went into the barn basically with the intent of getting to the bottom of it, and we basically beelined it upstairs to the crappiest part, and we were having a nice direct conversation with whoever was up there to explain why he harmed you. I've never seen Blair get that, what's the word to use? I don't want to say scared, but uneasy. I've never seen her that uneasy. And I've investigated a lot of places with these guys. And we were going to walk towards the catwalk, but we kept feeling challenged. So in this upstairs barn, there's like 3 different parts to it. And there's big doors, like open doors. There's no actual door, like doors on. And you can walk all the way through. And Blair and I were going to try and walk through it, but we felt challenged. We could hear, I think Blair said she heard things growl. We didn't back off. We kept going to try and make communication. Blair, do you want to take over from there? Because that's when I would ask for Psychic Blair.
Yeah, it was quite funny. You did that a lot. But yeah, no, what Mike was saying, it was very challenging energy and behavior from whatever entity was there, because I don't spook easily, but I was holding on to Mike's arm going, Mike, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go there. No, I don't want to walk there. It was scary, I'd have to say, because you could feel the challenging of the energy. You could feel that you were going to be pushed. And being on stairs or even on the catwalk was very unnerving, because it felt like if I turn my back, I'm going to get shoved.
Before we go any further, I want to get to a couple questions here from our audience. Graham on Twitter is asking, has this barn exhibited negative encounters before? Also, prayer is important before and after to cleanse. If I can offer more advice, it is only on my experience, but prayer is very important if the encounter drains or attaches. Yes, Graham, we did use a lot of prayer that night. We did use a lot of prayer. And has the barn been negative previous to this? No, absolutely not. Now, people were picking up on it. However, I never did. I knew the ghost upstairs was pissed off that we got the photo. I did know that. But I didn't expect him to go this far. And Goddess Michelle asks on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, Dave, what makes you so sure it is the ghost from the picture? Because we caught him last tour, and the area where he hangs out on the catwalk is where everything happened. And we have investigated him singularly before. Would you agree it's the same guy from the photo, Mike?
Yeah, there's a high chance that it could be. I would lean towards yes, because the guy in the photo looks pretty cranky and kind of scary looking. And that would be the type of person I would envision could be up there. He almost looks like an 1800s bandit, you know, when they would wear like a mask on their head and go rob trains. That's kind of what he looks like to me. And that's kind of the image I had in my head when Blair and I were up there having a nice direct conversation with him. Going through that audio will be very interesting, I think.
So we only got about 6 minutes with Jay and Blair left here, Mike, before we got to move on here. Take us through what happened when leading up to all of us, all four of you, including Derek, you three, Derek, myself, and Mark, going into the barn. So take us through that.
Crickets. Who's going to do that?
I want Blair to do it. She's new to this.
Well, what are you wanting to know?
Well, we have to tell it. We have to paint a picture for our audience here, you know, because they weren't there. So we have to be able to allow them to say what we were going through and how we prepared for it. Blair, is I guess what I'm trying to clarify here, and I'm not doing a good job apparently.
Okay. Well, after all the scariness in the barn, we all kind of came together and we made a plan to go back there and confront this entity and find out why this person is so angry and why the energy has changed from how it's been before. So we went in with good intentions to just calm everything down and get some answers. And you, I think, did a very good job with coming up with compromises for him with your public tours and stuff. So I think what you said and what you've offered him really made the energy shift that night.
It did seem to shift. Jason, what do you recall from when all of us went in?
Well, before we went in the door, we convened out front as a team. And, you know, Derek was very direct and to the point where he said, nothing is going to happen to us as long as we stick together as a team. We have to stay together as a united unit, no breaking off, you know, shall we say, go in as the united front. And that's what we did, but we didn't go in with any sort of challenging verbiage or anything like that. We all walked in the door. We all stuck together in our tight group. And, you know, the rest was, shall we say, history with, you know, you made those compromises and there was no further negativity other than the fact that we all had this sense of, okay, you know what, we've poked the bear enough tonight. Let's just, you know, we'll back off now. And I think we left things as positive as we possibly could. But, you know, Derek was right in the fact that we stuck together as a team and we all came out all right.
I would totally agree with that. That's what I mean. I think June will be interesting. It'll be because you made a deal with the upstairs spirit that people won't be walking on the catwalk again.
That's right. We will not take the tour on the catwalk.
No, I think that's a great compromise. I think I learned my lesson there because when we were all together doing the positive thing where you were doing your compromises, I got grabbed really hard on my arm when I was trying to communicate with the ghost when everyone was down there. So I think that's when you kind of took the reins and did the whole compromise thing. I still have a bruise.
How important is it, Blair, to try and compromise with spirits who are that angry?
Pretty important because you both on both sides, living and crossed over, need to have an agreement of where the lines are and what's fair to one another. So you need to respect one another, and it's same goes for everybody, living or dead. You need to respect, and if those lines are clear and you communicate that, everything should be pretty good.
We only got about 2 minutes left with Jason and Blair before we bring in Jeff Webster from Haunted Crew and Calgary Paranormal members Rob and Melissa as well. What's next, Jason and Mike, with Haunted Crew?
We actually have... Oh, you go for it, Jay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we have a really big investigation next Sunday at a place called the Barron Manor in Surrey, British Columbia, actually, Port Kells, British Columbia. And the history of the Barron Manor pub is to watch for submarines and boats going up and down the river from this location. And we're still digging up a lot of history and a lot of accounts, but apparently there's a lot of paranormal activity, and we're the first ever group to sink our teeth in the place, so to speak.
It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun watching what you guys do in the near future as well. In the meantime, our next ghost tour is June 9th, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably going to go back in beforehand. Not lying. I'm going to go in beforehand. I have to. It's just a feeling that I have. It's a must now, Jason. It's a must.
It is a must. Make sure that he's living up to his end of the bargain on your compromise.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little... I got to figure him out. You know, I don't trust him anymore. It's like our friendship has been broken.
Fair enough.
Has. All right, Jason and Blair Jordan from Haunted Crew of Canada, thank you so much for joining us in hour number 1 here. Mike Morin, Ghosts of the Great White North, happens the third Wednesday of every month here on Spaced Out Radio. We love talking Canadian paranormal, especially for our American fans down there. And if you're on Periscope, I'll reset it because I can see that we're kind of stuck there, and we'll get that cleaned up right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Hey Space Travelers, it's Joe Roop, your host of Spaced Out Saturdays. Come join me as we explore the realms of the paranormal, the esoteric, and everything in between every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You know the truth is out there. Don't get caught sleepwalking. Come join Spaced Out Saturdays. That's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, right here on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm going to take you for a ride every Sunday night on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to set up your week with some strange tales from across North America, from psychic readings, Sasquatch, UFOs, to the most haunted locations. Come join me at SpacedOutRadio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, and let's get weird together. I'd love for you to join me. Spaced Out Sundays at SpacedOutRadio.com.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spacedoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us tonight. Tomorrow night on the program, The Rebel Planet. Jamie Sexton is back with us talking our one night of the month where we talk all alternative news. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network, including the Fringe.fm, and we are also on Periscope.tv. I did restart it, so if you were watching on Periscope and jumped over to Spreaker or wherever, you can refresh. The feed is looking pretty good right now. So we are watching it. We are looking into it. Also, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. That's where we store our archives. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Macrosmatic. Macrosmatic is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read the Encounter online, or watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. Thank you, Jeff and Canadian Joe on hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. You know what you did. You know what you did there. And you're proud of it. I know you are. Hour number 2 of Ghosts of the Great White North with Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. We are joined by Mike's teammate, Jeff Webster, along with 2 special guests from Calgary Paranormal. We have Melissa and Rob with us. Everyone, welcome back to the show. Great to have you on, Melissa and Rob, with us all the way from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Mike is the one who got a hold of you guys. Melissa, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about Calgary Paranormal.
So we're called Calgary Association of Paranormal Investigations. We were founded in 2001. I came on board in about 2006 onto the website, and I started investigating with them in 2013. And then this past fall, I took over. The group takes like a scientific approach to paranormal investigation. So we're looking for some kind of evidence that we could give to a skeptic that would potentially convince them that what we're showing them is real.
And Rob, how long have you been paranormal investigating for?
I've been basically paranormal investigating since 2008. Been doing it for a while. First, it was just a couple of my friend of mine and myself were going out, and then eventually we actually had our own group. And eventually, like we were actually with Kathy for a bit, worked with them, and then I totally got out of it. I said, nope, gonna get a break off, for about a year, and I could only last a year. I got brought back into it. And I just joined back with Cappy here just within the last year.
And how do you guys enjoy it? How haunted is the Calgary area?
I think it's very haunted.
What makes it so haunted, Rob?
There's a couple of different things that are going on. Like, depending on where you're at and wherever it just seems like it always pops out. Like for me, I know that there's a couple of different places that are downtown Calgary, that are a lot of stuff going on, a lot of construction area, things like that, especially the buildings, the older buildings, the newer buildings, even supposedly downtown, the mayor's office, that type of thing. There's all these different things that are going on. And it could be anywhere from, some people said it was because of the water, the running water. Some people said it's the landlines. Personally, I don't really know. And I wouldn't mind seeing like the actual bottom to it, but it always seems to be, every time you come up with a theory, there's always something else.
Now, Calgary does have a roughneck type town attitude to it. It's a cowboy town. It's a Wrangler type town. I mean, these are names that are synonymous with old sports teams. The lacrosse team is the Calgary Roughnecks. The old WHA hockey team is the Wranglers. I mean, this is what Calgary is made. It's like Texas and the attitude of Texas in the United States, except north of the 49th parallel. There's a lot of rough, tough people in Calgary who really, still live an old school life there of farming, of ranching, of being a cattle farmer, let alone that the prairies, if you go back millions of years, was very, very dominated by dinosaurs as well, Melissa.
Yes, actually, Drumheller is where the Royal Tyrrell Museum is, and it's a hotbed for paranormal activity. There's the Atlas coal mine, and there's like a ton of places in there that are very well known to be haunted. Kathy investigated. We did a sleepover at the Atlas coal mine, and it was pretty amazing.
What happened there?
I wasn't there. Rob, were you there?
I was there one time where we would, like the actual place itself, it's an old coal mine, right? So basically what it was that the original coal mine was there. They actually, just before it was closed down, and I apologize, I don't have everything right in front of me, but it was mechanical. And then they actually used electricity, stuff to move things out, things like that. But they still had accidents. When they actually had big things that happened, like, you know, you don't just scrape your arm, you get your arm ripped off, things like that. Now, when we went there, they do have electricity there. They have it going and things like that for us. We're able to look at things. It's still, people visit there, tour the place, can actually go into the coal mine. It's a very nice place. But also when it gets darker, it just gets a little bit more creepier. We actually stayed in a couple of different places. We actually went into one area where they did a lot of electrical equipment changing, maintenance, things like that. And you could actually hear something in near us, and you could hear it just making noise, constantly making noise. Now, of course, we didn't have any of our electronic stuff as in night vision goggles, so we don't know if it's a mouse or something like that. But it's still, like, you could see the difference in the room. There was like 4 of us there, and you could actually feel like it's getting a lot stronger, a lot more. There's something going on here. We never did get a chance, but we did set up our cameras, putting it in the right direction, pointing in various directions. And then we basically said, okay, there's nothing going on. Let's go out and to see if we could record something. Came back a half hour later, change. So much change is different. Like, you walk in, the place is cold. There's nothing going on. You can actually feel the energy in the room was completely gone. So there was never anything solid. I know that, I know one time when I was camping out inside my car, and I was pointing towards the door of the main building that the 2 guys were asleep in. I was sleeping in my car. All of a sudden, I heard a bang, and I saw the door close, and that's it. And it was like, okay, whatever. I thought maybe they just came out to look for something or have a smoke or whatever. So I didn't think much of it, looked around for a bit, nothing going on, fell asleep. Well, the next day, the guys, when they woke up, they said, did you try to walk in? And I said, no. And they said, yeah, all of a sudden somebody opened the door and they slammed the door closed. And I'm like, no, it wasn't me. So it's always one of those things. It always seems like it's just within the reach. You can barely feel it. You can barely see it. But that was then.
Walk us through an investigation, like where you, at the mine, from start to finish, like, and what type of gear you would use in a mine, because I would assume it's very echoey in there.
So
well, I know.
Go
ahead, Melissa.
When somebody wants an investigation, they email us, and then we send them a questionnaire, which they fill out, which asks all sorts of questions about what's going on in their house, what they think it might be, what has happened. And then from there, we choose a date. We go in, and usually an investigation takes between 1 and 3 hours, depending on how big the space is. Once we're there, we do an initial sweep with, we check the temperature with an EMF detector, and we take pictures. We turn off all the electricity in the house. unless it's nighttime, and then we'll leave one area on so that we can plug in like lights and stuff. And then we do our investigation. Generally, we do EVPs and lots of pictures and videos. And sometimes we'll use some other equipment. We have like full spectrum cameras and stuff like that. So once we're finished, we take everything back to our houses and we go over all of the footage we got. Once we are done, we compile all of the evidence, if we got any, and we write a report based on our opinion about what happened, any personal experiences we had, and what evidence we got, and what Cappy's official stance is on the location based on all of those things. That process takes about a week, and then we go from there, depending on the client. Usually depends on how they want to proceed. Sometimes they're fine with just leaving everything. Sometimes they want a priest to come in. Sometimes they get somebody to come in and cleanse the house. It all just depends on personal belief.
True. Do you guys offer those services? Like if someone's like, oh my God, my house is haunted, and you confirmed it, we don't want Aunt Bessie to haunt here anymore. Can you sage it for us? Do you guys do that sort of stuff?
We don't, but we do have the resources to connect our clients with different, like clergy members or people that can sage and stuff like that, so that they can contact them and get together and do whatever they're comfortable with doing.
Being scientific based, what is your go-to for equipment? What is something that you guys will not go to an investigation without?
EMF detector, a good digital recorder, video cameras, a still camera, and flashlights.
Yeah, and there's and also something to do as well is just our minds. Like you got to be able to think about what you're doing. Like for us, like we already know when we go into a situation, we kind of know what the room. Well, we don't know what the room is going to be like, but we know the person. We've already interviewed them. They actually filled out a form, so we kind of know what we're looking for. And then what we'll do is sometimes we'll bring in other equipment, like say the closed circuit television. We'll bring that in. Maybe we'll bring in different type of trigger objects that they might have said before, or we might go in maybe a couple times if we have to.
Walk us through a preliminary. What sorts of questions do you ask your clients before you do an investigation?
We ask general information about what is going on in their house. We ask if they, like, how old their house is, what area they live in, if they're aware of any deaths associated with their property, if they've ever practiced occult in their home, if they've purchased like a vintage or antique item recently. We also ask what kind of building they live in, how many people. We ask if they have any pets, because generally pets will notice paranormal activity too. So if the pets are responding, then that kind of indicates that there might be something more there than meets the eye. Yeah, we ask if they've tried to have the house blessed or done anything to remove the energy, and if the house has been investigated before.
Do you guys ever, what my team does out here, because we get fairly busy, so we can't always get to every investigation the second we get solicited. So one standard practice we've been doing is, say you solicit me and you want your house investigated, and they're like, well, we can be there probably within 2 to 3 weeks. But what we get our clients to do now is do a daily log of paranormal activity. Basically, write a journal from the date you make contact with us to the date we come to your house. Or usually the day before, one of us will contact them to go through their journal with them to see what time things happen, what sort of thing triggers them. And I find that's extremely effective with our team, getting people to do the journals.
We've had actually a recent client we had did that, and it was really amazing, super helpful. But generally, I'm in communication with the client on a pretty regular basis. So usually they'll just email me when something happens, and I write a preliminary report. So I'll put all of the information that they give me on that, and then we can add to it as they send me more experiences in their house.
Do you give your client, say you get 10 Class A EVPs in Johnny's house, do you usually give them the evidence once you're done investigating?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, basically the idea is to show them like it's theirs, right? So we show them what's going on. We tell them what we think it could be, right? And then we go through the actual everything about it, try to word for word, trying to see what we can see and what it could be or can't be. Those types of things. Like sometimes what we'll do is I know that Michael, you said something interesting was like you always have your recorders on all the time. That's basically what we do too as well, right? So, and like our recorders, we'll put it down, walk away from it, making sure that we make a note of where it is, maybe even take a picture, all that type of stuff, just to make sure that just in case if it does move. And the idea is to make sure if we miss something that we can pick it up some way. It's a lot of information that you could probably agree on in order to, like, I don't know how many pictures I've taken, I don't know how many gigs of sound and also video that I've taken, and that you put it aside. And it takes a while to go through. It does take quite a while to go through, but you need to take your time doing it nice and easily, and then when you're done, kind of do it a second time if you need to, and then bring it to the group and show it to them, and then that's when it actually filters down to the client themselves.
In your guys' questionnaire, we used to use a questionnaire, and we found that being blunt and to the point seemed to work better for some people, but it did also trigger a lot of people. One of the questions that we actually used to ask was if the client has ever had any kind of mental health problems. Is that something that you guys would be interested in asking? Because I know there's a stigmatism towards that kind of talk, but when you're dealing with stuff that you can't see or hear most of the time, I feel like it is actually a valid question, but I don't know if every other team does that or not.
We used to ask that question, as well as what, if any, medications the client was on. But some people find that to be like prying. So we now, in our communication with the client, try and get a gauge on where they're at as far as their mental health goes. And you can usually tell. We also have 2 nurses on our team. So they're like trained to see red flags as far as mental health issues go and stuff like that.
I'm one of those. I'm one of those nurses actually. I work in a local hospital here. I deal with mental health all the time, and I deal with people with various issues mentally. Of course, cancer, alcoholism, you name it. We basically deal with it. And the idea where somebody's hallucinating might be not necessarily something paranormal, but it could be something towards maybe it's closer to dementia or Alzheimer's or something along those lines that maybe, and we hear this all the time at work, at the hospitals, that, my family member didn't, they were regular, and then all of a sudden they come to the hospital and they go ballistic. Well, it happens quite a bit. It's because it's different. It changes. So you gotta think about, and you also have to talk to the individual people and find out, when did this start? Like, how long has it been? Is there anything unusual about them? That type of thing. So it's always one of those things. It's like it's very picky, but you got to ask it, right? And especially with I don't know if you guys have the problems that we do here in Calgary, but there's a lot of drug abuse, right? So there's a lot of fentanyl overdoses, things like that. And we don't want to be involved with anything like that. We don't want to actually go into a situation where we think that it might be a little sketchy, that type of thing. And it's one of those things that you got to take seriously, right? They won't tell you that maybe they're doing something else, that type of thing. You walk into your room, you just got to really quickly look around and go, you know what, I really don't like this. And then you basically, you try to protect yourself as much as you can.
I have some questions coming for you guys from our Periscope chat room. All the way from Australia, Tanya is asking, how would knowing what medication people take help with an investigation? Rob, you're the nurse. Let's start with you.
Okay. So for basically just even with, depending on their medication, depending on, like, we're not even talking about necessarily the morphine, the Demerol, the fentanyl, any of the narcotics. Like, it could be anywhere from like any of the medications that you take for cancer, or medications that you take for an allergy or something along those lines, or even the antibiotics. Sometimes that will throw people off. Like, I've seen people that actually react very differently from what somebody would normally act from just like a simple medication that you give to quite a few different people, and then they will actually they will change abruptly, and depending on what else is going on with them. So, say for instance, if you throw in the mix of they're under stress, they have this terrible disease or terrible disorder that they have. And then you throw in the fact that there might be something paranormal going on. Yes, they're going to be in total distress, right? So they may hallucinate. They may not be able to rest. And the longer that they don't get to sleep, the longer that they don't rest, the worse off it's going to be. So it's just like everything else. If there actually is something paranormal, that may feed off that. So we want to make sure everybody's safe and as much as they can be anyway.
And some drugs can make you hallucinate as well, which is another issue.
Mike, did Haunted Crew Canada ever check out on medication?
You mean if we ask our clients? We will ask our clients, but we won't pry, because that's private at the end of the day.
All right, let's get to another question from Periscope here. And this one comes from Aaron, and it's actually a two-part question here. He says, why not have the lights on to get a clear video?
We actually do most of our investigations in the daytime, so we don't have an issue with having the lights on for a video because it's daylight. But when we're investigating at night, sometimes we'll leave the lights off because we've turned the electricity off in a building, and running all of those cables to like different areas that we're filming can cause an issue. And it also can screw up our EMF detectors. So then any readings that we get, we can't rely on.
There's also, one of the things that you also have to keep in mind too is that when we go around the house, we always check around the house. Like, we're not exactly, when you first go in, you may be talking to the client saying that, okay, this is what's happening in the house. Okay, like that person's dealing with the client while maybe a couple of us are taking pictures of the place and noting certain things, noting temperatures, seeing if there is if there's a Wi-Fi, is it on? Is there any other outside interference that they may not know about? We actually went to a place there, was in January, I think it was, that we actually found out that the Wi-Fi from the church was actually hitting their house. Now, does it affect them? No, but it may interfere with different things. So it's one thing that you have to keep in mind, and that we do have detectors for those types of things. Unfortunately, like, no matter what you can do, you can't keep it from the outside, but if you can actually enclose the environment, get all the stuff that you know for sure that you can actually turn off, then you try to do those types of things.
See, I prefer investigating in the night. And I'll tell you why, is I find that my vision is actually better in the night when my eyes relax. And it was something that for me is very easy, much easier to pick up on anything, especially if anything is moving. Do you find that as well, Rob?
I do, actually. We actually went to, recently we went just for a bit of fun. We, just a couple of us investigators decided to go to a local cemetery here. And we walked around and stuff like that. And like I basically didn't have anything except for, I think I had a flashlight so I don't fall around or fall into anything. And it was nice, beautiful spring, summer evening and that. And then you could see how, like, everybody else was, the other investigators, Melissa was one of them. They were taking pictures and that, and I was, like, just talking and that, and trying to, I tend to do that a lot in order to, if something's going to follow us, then it kind of gives them an idea of why we're here and seeing if it could actually pop up for us. So yeah, I totally agree. And you relax so much. It's unreal. I totally love it. After they actually left, I sat there in the middle of the graveyard for like a half hour just seeing if anybody else wants to come out and say hi.
Interesting. Do you deal with a lot of negative activity in Calgary because it does have a rougher Wrangler cowboy type, no give a crap type information or attitude, I should say?
No, not at all. As long as Kathy has been around, we've never encountered anything that we would classify as demonic. And very rarely do we come across extremely negative entities.
Have you guys ever experienced attachments or any sort of things like that?
Nobody from our team has ever experienced attachments, but all of us do different kinds of protection or grounding exercises before we go on investigations and generally when we leave. So I think that we're pretty protected overall.
What sorts of things? Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to add to that too, is that I actually felt like something was tried to attach to me a couple of years ago. That's one of the main reasons why I actually left the field for a bit, in order to kind of look at it in a different perspective. Yeah, when it was attached to me, it felt very, it was really negative and very dark and stuff like that. And it just seemed like nothing was, it was very different. And it was not me. And it was after investigation. It wasn't with Kathy, but it was with the old group that I was with. And it did feel like the actual investigation itself didn't exactly feel too negative. As a matter of fact, we didn't get anything from the investigation. But something was following me around for a good couple of months. And it did take me a while to actually clear it and to get rid of it. Now I know that Melissa is probably going to say this too, is that like I make sure that I am protected. Like I have something that I feel like is a shield, and I can actually bring it up, bring it down, harder, softer, make it different colors as much as I want. Now, this is all in my head, right? So, but this is something that, like, I feel like a barrier. If I have to put it up, I'll put it up. Unfortunately, I feel that in the paranormal side of me is that I want to keep it not as tough, because I want to experience things. I want to be able to see things. I want to be able to, for them to hear me, and I can try to hear them.
Walk us through the investigation that made you walk away from the paranormal, and kind of paint us a picture of what happened with the negative attachment.
So the investigation itself was just outside of Calgary here in the south. It's an area just south of Calgary, about an hour outside of Calgary. And the actual investigation itself was a family. They had 2 kids. There was a son and daughter. Like, they were like just like one was a baby and one was just a toddler, basically. And they were hardworking people. You know, they both had jobs. I think one worked at local department store, that type of thing. Another one was working construction or something similar to that. And they said they actually saw something pop up in their house one time, and they can hear everything from like voices from downstairs when there's nobody downstairs. So they could actually hear it from the actual vents that go from the downstairs up. They could actually hear something. Now, there's nobody inside the apartment at all. It's absolutely empty. We actually got to investigate it. There's nothing in there at all. And then they were getting more and more concerned. Things would start moving around. They actually had one time this was kind of weird, is like the mother had bathed the children, right? They just bathed the children, and they were both young and that, so she got them all washed up. She dried them off, stuff like that, and she basically put them all, she put them both into bed. So she put them all both into bed, kind of relaxed. I said, oh, good, they're both in the bed, like that. The husband came home and that, and they were like, oh, okay, how was your day? Pretty good, and like that. I just got the kids to bed and stuff like that. And they said, okay. Well, he goes, well, I'll clean up for you. And she just goes, no, that's okay. I already cleaned it up. I already put all the towels away and put all their little toys away and stuff like that. She goes, well, the husband goes, well, they're everywhere. And sure enough, they looked in the room, and it was like everywhere. It was absolutely everywhere. They were like strategically placed all in the bathroom. It was very odd. Like, they've never had this. They have dogs and that, but they keep them mostly downstairs, and they're kind of chained up. They're more or less outside dogs, so it was kind of odd. Another instance was when they said that a towel had, it was upstairs. They know that for sure. It was up. It was something to do with, I think it was like a tub towel type thing. So it was placed underneath so that when you get out of the tub, it's right there. Normally it's hung up over the side of the tub, and apparently it actually came downstairs, and like I guess the husband said that everything was usual, did his coffee, all that stuff, went to work, and then the wife, when she came downstairs, the towel was wrapped around a pole down there, and it was like, that's weird. It was like in the living room, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why would he do that type of thing? And of course, he said, no, I didn't do that. Then they started actually seeing like an entity. This was an entity that was a tall entity. Basically, what he said it was like this cowboy in leathers. He said it was a tall guy, and he would be in all black, and he'd be just staring at him. And the guy was like, holy crap, look away for a sec, look back down, boom, gone. So after that, like, it didn't seem like we never actually did, we never caught anything during that investigation. We actually had a couple of paranormal investigators with us, a good friend of mine and another good friend of mine which was part of the team. And like, it was kept on. After that, it just seemed like everything was kind of going downhill, like, for me anyway. I don't know if it was like something personal with me that was maybe a little bit more control. I don't know if you could say that, but like, everything else seemed to be exactly the same. I was still a nurse. I was still working full time. I was still doing the exact same thing, but it was just like a negative cloud over me. And I was like, it was really hard to really shake for quite a while.
I have a couple questions coming from the audience here, if you guys don't mind. This one coming from Bill Cardwell, and all of you can actually answer this one, because I think this is actually, kind of important for what we are doing now, because we are ending or starting into a real cannabis type culture. So he is asking, would smoking cannabis help or hinder your ability to connect with spirits on a ghost hunt? Many people around the world use it for connecting with their dead relatives. Melissa, let's start with you on that one.
I don't think that it makes a difference unless you're, I think the intent is what matters here. People use all sorts of different things to connect with people that have passed or go on spiritual journeys, and then people use those same things just for fun. So I think that there's a difference. So if you're using it respectfully to connect with spirit, then it could help. I don't personally use it for that purpose, for any purpose. So I don't know. I think that it just, your intention is what matters with that.
How about you, Rob?
I don't know. I don't think, like, you would have to take a really, I would think, a lot of marijuana in order to get to that frame, I guess. Like, I know it would help with maybe seeing a little bit more things at a different light, but I don't think it would make you, like, if you're already, the intent of it is already there, it may help you relax in order to reach that. That's something that you could look at, is that if you're more relaxed, you're able to do things. Maybe you're able to open your third eye, open your mind up to it. Then I could see it doing that way, but it's not going to necessarily, like, automatically, you take a bunch of weed and then all of a sudden you see your whole, your grandfather 13 million years ago walking in your door.
Jeff, what's your thoughts? To doobie or not to doobie? That is the paranormal question.
For me, no. I'm firm believer. I mean, I'm a pretty chill guy anyways, so pretty relaxed most of the time. But for me, in the dark, I want to have all my senses of me. I don't need to be sluggish or anything like that. I need my eyes focusing. I need my ears focusing. I can't be distracted. I need to be firing on all cylinders.
No pun intended. Mike.
That's a no for me. I give it the same rules alcohol is. Kind of don't mix spirit with spirit. I follow the same thing as Jeff. I want to fire on all cylinders. I want all my senses to be at 100% when we're investigating, so we know exactly what's going on around us.
See, I know with our museum ghost tour that we do here, we actually have it written on our waiver forms that we have everybody sign that anybody who is intoxicated by alcohol and any sort of narcotics, which includes marijuana, we will turn you away, and we have turned people away. And I think it's different if you're like in a real Zen-filled seance type atmosphere, comparatively to where you are going location to location, whether it's a home, a cemetery. And I think, just for, being proper, I know if I had a ghost team come to my house and I could smell pot on them, I wouldn't let them in. I think there's a professionalism that goes along with it too. Don't you think there, Melissa?
Absolutely. For the record, because we take a scientific approach, we wouldn't use any kind of drugs or anything to enhance our spiritual visions. Just like we don't use pendulums, we don't use Ouija boards, we don't use anything like that. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, Rob, in regards to professionalism?
Well, it's just like everything else. Like, I always think of it as, look, I'm a nurse and I'm a big guy, right? I'm a big guy. I'm a male nurse. So every single time when I walk into that room and I introduce myself, hi, my name is Rob. I'm one of the nurses here. I have to look like a nurse. I have to be professional. I have to be presentable. It's the same thing for the paranormal. Like, I always have to make sure that, and like I believe it was either Mike or Dave said that, you want to make sure that you have all your faculties with you. There's places out there that, like if you are tripping on something, and then if you may think it's something that's very, everything's all good and stuff like that, until something dark happens. And when something dark happens, then you will panic and you may do things that you probably wouldn't normally do. So it's all professional all the way. I try to present myself in a professional manner, and I would think that anybody that's working with me as a researcher, it would be the exact same way.
Another question that I have for all four of you comes from Leo on Periscope, and I think this is an interesting question. With all the vehicles that are at a junkyard and the energy that would be around those, has anybody ever thought of investigating a junkyard or subsequently done it? Mike?
I have not, but that's actually a really good idea. Who knows what's in those vehicles, or who was left in the trunk somewhere. No, I agree that's especially old vehicles that have a lot of energy in them, of people in and out throughout the years. I may solicit some junkyards around my house. Now, that is a fantastic idea.
How about you, Jeff? You work in the towing business. You know that, there's a lot of energy in some of those vehicles that have maybe been involved in accidents or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen firsthand remnants of people being left in vehicles. That is pretty gruesome. But with that being said, like I said, my 9 to 5 is in the towing industry with vehicles. So doing something outside of work that is work related, probably not the best person to ask for that. But I see where the question's coming from. That, yeah, there probably is, because even in an accident, there's just so much energy that's absorbed by the vehicle that you can't even fathom how much energy is coming from the body as it hits doors, steering wheels, backs of seats and stuff like that. I would think it would have to leave an imprint. It's a very interesting theory now that I really think about it, to possibly reach out to somewhere and find out.
And how about you, Melissa or Rob? Have you guys ever investigated a junkyard or thought about it?
We've not ever investigated a junkyard. I've never actually thought about it. I think it's a really good point. The residual energy alone would probably be pretty crazy. There would be some issues for us as far as controlling the environment. And I don't know if any junkyards around here would let us in for safety reasons.
I could definitely see the safety reasons, but I'm wondering if you guys think that maybe a junkyard, because of some of the incidents that have happened with these vehicles, might be one of those taboo areas. Because, you know, I'm still a little up in the air about investigating cemeteries. I've done it. I don't know if I like it, but I'm still up in the air in regards to that. Do you think that, and we'll go with you, Rob, right off the bat, do you think that maybe it is one of those taboo areas that maybe the paranormal really shouldn't investigate?
In cemeteries, yeah. I like the places that I go to just for fun. It's not even necessarily to investigate. It's just to kind of get your skills there, right? And if you feel something, if you see something around you in that, you look around in that, like there's the thing is with investigating with cemeteries is that I don't investigate. I walk around. There's actually a lot of these cemeteries in Calgary are made so that they are actual parks, right? So what you do is normally people walk through there all the time, and it's not that we're being like trying to cheat or anything like that. No, it's something that you want to look at. You're looking into these. You're walking around. You're just doing your normal thing that you normally would do. It's just a little bit differently. I always have the most respectful for any person buried there. The military cemeteries, that type of thing. I always talk about. I used to be in the military myself, so it always get broken up a little bit when I go over there. And actually, it seems to encourage something to come out when you talk about those types of things. Like for something like we were just talking about the different places for the cars, things like that, like railroad tracks, things like that, like an old railroad places that people have died or something like that. Unfortunately, those happen to be quite a few different places. Matter of fact, there's a place here in Calgary that there's a railroad track that it's been open for something like 40, 50 years type thing. And people have died on the railroad track. And even though we're in a park, there's actually somebody that actually comes and visits in the park that's an entity. So, and they could be from the actual railroad track themselves.
We only got about 3.5 minutes before we got to go to break. Mike, question from you.
I have a really good one for the next hour because it's going to be a big one. I want to go into your biggest, baddest cases next hour. But as of right now, how frequent do you guys investigate?
It fluctuates throughout the year. Usually, like right around Halloween, we get like a ton of people wanting us to come and investigate. Throughout the summer, I'd say like 2 or 3 a month.
That's pretty... Oh, go ahead, Dave, sorry.
What's your team's stance on using psychic mediums?
We have several sensitives on our team. I view it as kind of an additional tool. We use all of our equipment to get what we can get, and then we use a medium or a sensitive to kind of cement that or see if everything matches up with whatever we get with the evidence. So it's kind of an in-addition thing. But we love having them on investigations. I find it really helpful to lead our EVP questions.
So what about teams who refuse to use them? And they say it's such an unscientific approach in order to use a psychic.
Well, it's not untrue. It is unscientific. But I think that you have to be able to utilize as much as you can to get as big a picture as you can. And if you're going to just rely on whatever the psychic said, then yeah, it's totally unscientific, and you probably shouldn't do it if you're a science-based teen. But when you're using it in addition to all of the science, then it's totally different.
I would agree with that. Rob, what's your take on that? Psychic or no psychic?
I personally, I think I am not necessarily psychic, but I tend to think that I am a little bit that I can actually feel things. I think that's what all good nurses are, that we can actually feel empathy towards somebody and feel the frustration on them and stuff like that. So I think we actually pick it up as a natural thing. And like there's been times where like I'll actually have that impression into in my own mind, saying that there's something negative here, or there's something scared, or there's something more or less animalistic, or something along those lines. So yeah, I tend to. But what I also remember is that it always goes back to get all the information as much as you can first, right? And then use the other stuff later, okay? So if I write it down, I get the evidence from that, then maybe afterwards we talk about it afterwards and we say, we do this is what happened, we add notes to it. Yeah, that's I totally think that it's something that it's definitely a very usable tool.
All right, gentlemen and lady, we are going to be going to our final break of the night here on Spaced Out Radio. Mike Morin, Jeff Webster from Haunted Crew of Canada joining us with Rob and Melissa, Calgary Paranormal Investigators, as we are talking about Ghosts of Alberta tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Southern Alberta. You know, I'm an Oilers fan, so the whole Calgary Edmonton thing, let's just drop the gloves and go. That's just the way it is. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this. Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Morin, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
We are lighting the void on Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, this is Joe Roop, and I'm hanging out in SOR headquarters every Saturday night, bringing you the latest news when it comes to the weird and strange. Bigfoot, occult, UFOs, ghosts, and everything in between, I got you covered. You can tune in to SpacedOutRadio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Come travel into the void with us on Spaced Out Saturdays.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories.
From the mile-high state of Colorado, sharing our signal around the world, I invite you to Spaced Out Sundays. Hi, I'm Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm closing out the week by taking you on a paranormal journey to the world of the weird. Ghosts, aliens, psychic phenomena, I will hit it all in your questions too. So let us highlight the paranormal for you. So come join me for Spaced Out Sundays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, Jamie Sexton is back with The Rebel Planet. Every once a month, we talk about the alternative news that is going on that really addresses the stories behind the stories. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on the Spaced Out Radio Network, including the Fringe.fm, and you can watch us live every Monday through Friday night on Periscope.tv. as well, our archives. We store them on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate that, because that way you can listen to some other shows. Check us out a little bit more. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Macrosmatic. Macrosmatic is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, has a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read The Encounter online, or watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. Tonight we are talking Ghosts of the Great White North. We are always joined this Wednesday night. It happens the third Wednesday of every month with Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. Joining us from his team is Jeff Webster. We don't know if Jeff has a soul or not, because he is a redhead.
I really don't think Jeff has a soul.
I'm not a redhead.
You basically are a redhead. You look like... Yeah, sure. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah. You act like a redhead. So, nonetheless, nonetheless, we still love you, and we love everybody.
Little Jeffy redhead. There you go.
And we love the redheads around here. We really do. My daughter's a little bit redheaded, so I kind of like her. So I'm all down with that. But nonetheless, we also have from Calgary, paranormal investigators Rob and Melissa. They are from Calgary, Alberta, investigating the southern portion of that Canadian province, and that's why we call this feature The Ghosts of the Great White North. Everyone, welcome back. Now, Jeff, you had a pretty cool question that you mentioned off the air. We're going to get to it on the air because, well, that's the best time to kind of bring out those types of questions. Go ahead. Fire away.
Yeah, sorry, a bit of a rookie mistake there. I was asking Rob there if working in a hospital, if he can turn off his investigative hat and just do strictly being a nurse when there's a hospital is a place of death and also healing, of course, but my wife works in a hospital as well, and she has said that she's seen things and smelled things and been touched and grabbed, and there's things that she can't explain. And I was asking Rob if he's ever noticed anything like that.
And my answer to that is that I do have to shut it off at times. I know the people that I work with, they know that I've been involved with the paranormal for a very long time. Even like back when I used to be an instructor, all that type of stuff, they all knew that I was in the paranormal. And I always try to make sure that I turned it off, because it does blend in a little bit, and you kind of want to make sure that because I am a bit of a sensitive, like I'm dealing with people that are in worst case scenarios that are going to die within days, weeks, months, or is dying that day. And so the emotional side is very, very big. And then you also have so many different emotions. You go in one room, there's somebody who's an alcoholic and dealing with their problems. You go into the next one that their person has dying of cancer. And it's something that you try to turn off and try to be a normal human being, because if you don't, it tends to leak out a little bit, and then you feel that you're overwhelmed a bit. And I know that I have seen some entities at work at times, and I've known that other nurses have seen entities at times. And even when I don't say anything, it's funny. Like I'll say to somebody in great confidence, "Hey, I saw something. Just wanted to let you know." Just that type of thing. Just make sure that you mark down the date and time. They're like, "Okay, whatever, Rob." And then next day, somebody else comes out and they say, "I think I saw something in this one direction." So it does pop up, and it's something that you always have to be well aware of, and making sure that you're kind of, that barrier goes up again, right? And making sure that it's soft enough that you can actually deal with real people, with real problems. These are real situations, and that's what I love about this, is that nursing is so good about that. It's like you're trying to heal people and trying to see people in a good light. And like the paranormal, it's for me at home, it's kind of mixed together, but when I'm at work, and I turn it off, or I try to. And then when I'm at doing paranormal, I try to bring it back in, the combination again. That's about it.
What is the most... So you said you've seen entities in the hospital. What would you say is the most kind of WTF moment you've seen there?
Let me see. Oh boy. Okay. I'll try to. Okay, this woman was dying. We knew she was going to die within the day or two. Nice lady, nice family, and that. We were making sure that she was comfortable as much as we could. And her door was open. And I knew her husband. I knew the rest of the family. I know them very well. They always greet me. I always greet them. Try to have a pleasant smile and say, she's doing okay today, and that. And we were looking after her, and it was interesting because this was a time when it was last summer, and it was during the time in Calgary where we always get, there's always a certain time of year when Calgary gets a bunch of thunderstorms late in the evening or early in the evening. In this case, it was around 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening. And we were doing our rounds. Now, just because paranormal stuff happens, in the real world, my job is on my job, right? So I'm not thinking paranormal. So this is around 6 o'clock. We were busy. Lights were going off and that. I just came around and I was looking through the door. And I was looking through the crack in the door just to see if she's okay. Just making sure everything's kind of okay, right? But really quickly in order to go on to that other light. So I went along, saw something standing over her, and I was thinking, oh, okay. That must be her husband, right? And whatever it was, I just assumed it was her husband. This person was tall, like her husband would be, but he was wearing it was raining and that, so I thought it was like a dark, like a coat or something like that, right? And as I went past, I was like, oh, there he is. There I come back in, came around, and I came around the corner, and it was her. She was sound asleep, and nobody was there. And so I looked around for a bit, and it's not like they could disappear. It's not like they could go underneath it literally took me like a half a second to go from the door, slowly walk around to greet them, because I wasn't thinking paranormal. I was thinking as a normal person would. And I came around the corner, and something wasn't there. But I saw something standing, and it was above her, looking down at her. It was actually enough that whatever it was blocking my view of her, which was crazy enough when you think about it, right? So the entity was standing, the door, the entity, and then her. And it was blocking her, my vision clearly of her. So that was weird enough. So went along, told one of the other nurses about it, and they're like, okay, yeah, Rob, you're crazy, that type of thing. Yeah, no problem. Quite used to it, right? So the next day, I talked to one of the other nurses, and she said, Rob, you know what? I saw something a little bit later on. Now, I did not tell her what happened to me at all. She told me this the next day. She said around 9 o'clock in the evening, she saw something go inside the bathroom. Now, for her, she's doing what she should have done. She's like, oh, somebody must be going to the bathroom, but they can't walk, so I better make sure that they're safe. Knock on the door, nobody's in there. Go to the other side, nobody's there. Go to the other side, the person who is there, it's the same room as that woman was that's eventually passed away, but she was still alive at that time. That's the room that it happened from. So it does happen from time to time. It's crazy.
Working in a hospital, the spirits that are always roaming around, I mean, you have the people who pass away on their own, and you have people who pass away tragically. Have you noticed a difference in the spirits that come across in certain or different sections of the hospital?
Let me see. Well, I've worked in a couple of different places, and usually the places that I'm working in right now, there's a lot of death in this area, but there's also a lot of, I find that there's a lot of, how can I put it? It's a lot of people that they don't just pass away. There's various problems that maybe they're not, like, it's not a straightforward, they got hit by a car and they die. It's something that may drag on for long periods of time. I'm finding is that, like, if there is an entity there, again, I don't turn on my little paranormal button on to look around. But when I do notice it, it seems to be that that all they're doing is observing. There are times that we do actually hear from patients that actually have said something. And, like, I haven't even brought any of that stuff up. Like, we're not talking about, like, I don't introduce myself, hi, I'm Rob, I'm the paranormal nurse. No, I'm Rob, I'm a nurse here. And then they bring us to somebody else, not necessarily myself, but somebody that they trust. They say that there's something there.
I have one more question for you, Rob, in regards to this.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a ghost approach you and ask for help?
I have. I had a feeling where a ghost has been scared of me, which was quite an eye opener. And it's it kind of depresses me when I think about it, because it's like, why would you be scared of me type thing? It was at Nicole, one of our investigators, and we went to, we were having a bit of a fun time at a park that's a haunted place here in Calgary. And we went there, and she happened to say, like, she's totally, like, she can talk to them, she can communicate, she can tell you what they look like, the whole bit. And it was near the end of the night, stuff like that. Everybody was wrapping up. It was cold. Everybody was kind of shutting things down and that. And they kept on saying that there was this girl that was following them around. And it was like, okay, that's cool, right? And I happened to have my K2, and I had a really good K2 meter. It was one that had a thermometer on it. It was perfect, right? And it was near the end. Almost everybody went home, and that. And they both of them, like, there was Nicole and her friend was there, and they were talking about this entity that was following around. I said, okay, well, whereabouts is it? I can't see anything around them. It was like late, it's getting into the evening and that, but you can see totally around you and stuff like that, right? So it's getting to the point where it's getting a little bit dusky, but you can still see things. And she goes, yeah, well, it's right behind us, that type of thing. I said, oh, really? I said, yeah. I said, okay. So I took out and I know that half the time, if I take out my EMF meter and start going along, chances are it's not going to go off. And sure enough, I took it out, and I went along behind them. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at my mirror, I look up, and then there's this girl that's standing right there. And she is standing right there. Like almost to the point where I can actually put my hand on her. I was startled. I was like, whoa. And I know nobody else saw anything, but to that point I did. I felt this like scared feeling from her. And I thought it was directed towards me, like she was scared of me. And I thought that was like, oh my God, like, is that what she feels like all the time? Right? And it was depressing to the point where she kind of put her hands up, and then boom, she was gone. And that was all in my head. It was like, what the heck happened there? And so that's one of the things is that, like, what do you say about those things, right? Like why did I see that? Why was it so scared? Like, what was it scared of? Like, was it scared of me? Was it scared because it was reliving what was going on? Maybe it was like the idea of it's trying to communicate to somebody, and then all of a sudden you're like, it can see you, and then it's like it didn't know what to do. It's a very scary thought, and it really bothers me that that actually did happen. But yeah, I'm glad that it did, because it actually put me on the right. It put me in the right direction, going into it more, and making sure that I kept with it. Is that if I'm able to open myself up a little bit more, but also creating that barrier so that nothing else can come in and cause me, like bad nights or worse sleeps and not be able to go to work or handle general life. That would just suck. So those barriers help quite a bit.
Rob, was that at a place in Calgary known as Devil's Playground?
No, I know what that is, but no, that wasn't at Devil's Playground. That was actually at it's actually a famous park in Calgary that they have weddings at. People get their wedding pictures taken at in there, and it's like if you actually know the that's why I love history, right? And the actual history of the area is very, like, it's a beautiful park. It's by the river, all that good stuff. It looks beautiful, like, fairy tale wedding, all of that type of stuff. You have beautiful setups that they have there and everything. But when you look into the history of Calgary, it's unfortunately it's a very even though it's the weird part is that it is a medical place. But it's also near World War I, and there was a lot of things like can't remember what the actual disease that was going about at that time, but yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and unfortunately, that's where that area was. But it's a beautiful area, very beautiful.
This Devil's Playground, do tell us. Sounds kind of intriguing. Have you guys ever investigated it? And what is it?
The Devil's Playground is any number of different places. There's actually a very good documentary that Kathy participated in about it, done by Parrish. It's on YouTube. So we investigated a place called Simon's Valley Ranch, which is well known to be haunted. It's actually burned down now, so no longer there. But it's also thought that it could be a school, like an old school. Nobody seems to really know where exactly it is.
Yeah, when I said the Devil's Playground, I was thinking the schoolhouse that caught on fire unfortunately, with children inside.
It's supposed to be in the south of Calgary, something like that. I remember when I used to when I first started this, I was looking into that and I couldn't find it.
So it's one of those mythical legends then that
Yeah.
always seems to be around. Every big city or big town out in the wilderness always seems to have something devils, whether it's Devil's Cliffs or Devil's Playground, something to do with the devil, because maybe someone died there under mysterious circumstances. And, during those days when things were, name-tagged or nicknamed, shall we say, it was usually done in a time where religion played a huge part in absolutely everything. When something couldn't be explained. So I can see where that's going. Mike, you had a question.
I do. I have a two-part question for Melissa. What got you interested in the paranormal? And second, what is the most, I'll just use the word scariest, what is the scariest case you've ever had to deal with?
So when I was little, I had a kind of creepy experience in my house. We lived in a haunted house. So it got me kind of interested. And then actually when I was in grade 2, there was this little girl that I played with, and she told me the story of Bloody Mary. And I became obsessed from that point on with everything to do with ghosts and what they want and if they can actually hurt you. And so much of my childhood was spent reading books and looking up stuff about ghosts. The scariest investigation. I don't really get scared on investigations. I think the creepiest experience I've had was at a museum that we were investigating, and one of our former investigators thought that he saw movement in a different part of the building. So we went over to check it out, and I had, for the first time ever in my life, the most intense feeling that I had to get out of there and run away. And I didn't, because that's very unprofessional, but it was so strange. And we actually caught an EVP very close to that area of a man cursing. So we felt that there was a man that was attached to that area, and he wasn't very nice, and we don't think that he liked women very much.
Do tell. Why did he not like the women?
I don't know. Women would get that feeling that you have to leave, right? And the swearing would happen if there was women around. We actually think he might have been racist too. One of our investigators was pinched, and he was not white. So everything negative that happened in that area happened to anybody that wasn't a white male. So it was really strange. And in that same museum, I think, Rob, you might have been there. We were in the attic, and we had a flashlight that was responding to yes and no questions. So we would ask it, and it would respond every single time, the whole time we were in the attic. And then when we took the flashlight downstairs to another area, it stopped doing it. So, I mean, it's not conclusive, but it's pretty compelling as far as I'm concerned that we were able to communicate with some kind of intelligent entity in the building.
I do the audio work for Haunted Crew, so I'm kind of biased on this. But I was just kind of wondering what programs do you guys use, and what type of recorders do you guys use to capture your evidence?
So I have a Tascam digital recorder and a Zoom digital recorder. And,
like your style.
Yeah.
We use both.
I use WavePad and VideoPad to go through everything and cut the any kind of evidence that we get to send to the clients.
Okay, now, yeah, we use WavePad as well. We also use Audacity, which is pretty good for eliminating the background white noise, I find. But yeah, the Tascam and the Zoom are both top-notch recorders for what we do.
Yeah, I find that...
go ahead.
We often joke that the Zoom recorder could catch a fly fart.
You can hear a person peeing from across the room in a closet downstairs.
That is true.
Yeah.
Guys, when it comes to the stories that you guys have, what are some of the bigger cases you have worked on that have really produced results that have helped people in there? Are there any scenarios out there in Calgary's history that you have really had to work hard on to bring some truth to, maybe an old bar or an old school or something along those lines?
We've investigated the Prince House in Heritage Park. Kathy, as far as we're concerned, it's haunted. We investigated the Dean House, which is now a restaurant. But as far as we're concerned, it's also haunted. We have investigated multiple bars. We've got... there's some interesting bars in Calgary that used to be like mortuaries and stuff, so they have like really cool histories. So there's a couple, the Rose and Crown, and that we think is haunted as well. So, but I mean, all of the places that are commonly known to be haunted, I mean, everybody thinks that they're haunted, so we don't really have to do any work aside from like going in and investigating. I find the residential investigations to be a lot, I don't know, more interesting because we get to help families or people that are going through something scary or something that they don't understand in their house.
When you were dealing with residential hauntings, is there a different approach that you take in regards to a residential comparatively to, let's say, a cemetery or a place of business? And if so, how would you go about investigating a home that, say, has children in it? Because when it comes down to it, we all worry about whether or not children are going to be affected.
Right. So when we're actually conducting the investigation, we would have all children and pets and most of the people out of the house. And then we would work closely with the family. If their family is scared, then you want to come to some kind of resolution, help them figure out what is happening and how they can fix it.
Rob, what is your opinion on residentials?
The residentials, it's a little bit, in a way, it's a little bit easier. It's a closed-in environment. So when you have the closed-in environment, then you can pretty much rule out a couple of different things. The good thing is that the technology that we have out there, you can pretty much know what's going on. If there's like, I even have something that looks for carbon monoxide, right? That can cause problems too. So if that goes off, then not only are the family involved, but it's like everybody else in the room is involved, or in the whole house. So those things are important. It's one of those things that you got to look out for. And just going through, just making sure, is the electrical, how is the electrical? There's simple devices that you can use that to see if the circuits are working properly. You just plug in this little thing into the outlet. You can tell you if the outlet's working or not. So like there's various things that you can do, and seeing if there's more on one side than the other. Maybe there's maybe the actual EMF from something Like I know I usually talk about the bathroom ghosts. The bathroom ghosts being like, say, every time when you put on a fan, doesn't matter if it's a computer fan or anything else, it produces EMF. And so that EMF goes out, and it could be higher than normal and can interfere with the actual individual people, as well as if there is an entity, it could cause an entity to help it produce something. That's something that we always got to keep in mind. If it's closed environment, it's a lot better, right? But you got to make sure to look at everything. And I know Cappy's very good at that. We go in, introduce ourselves, and then we start on the inside. We go outside. We look at all the areas. Look at the actual neighborhood itself. Is it busy? Is it, they were saying that there was a ball of light comes in through here. Well, is it because of maybe somebody backs a car out and it flashes in that window? You never know, right? And you try to mimic as much as you can, or try to, within reason, try to figure out what's going on here. And then like afterwards, you've all of a sudden realize, oh man, maybe there is something going on here. Then, what can we do to help them? And then we go from there.
Jeff or Mike?
What sorts of things do you do for resolution? Walk me through a resolution for your client.
So we recently had a client who felt that there was an evil presence or energy in their home. So we were in close communication with him for about a month, kind of back and forth, figuring out what he wanted to do. And then in the end, we put him in touch with a medium that he felt comfortable with, that helped him figure out something that made him comfortable about what was going on. In other instances, we can connect people with a priest so that a priest can come in and bless the house. We've had people that we have sent to somebody to sage their house. We had one woman that didn't want anybody saging her house, but she wanted whatever was there gone. So we got her spiritual counsel with somebody that she was comfortable with. So it really depends on people's belief systems, if they have faith or not. And generally, people that are contacting us want somebody to come in and debunk. Like, they want to know that there's nothing there and maybe they're going a little bit crazy. And if we can't, then they want somebody to come in and like sage their house and get it out. So that's generally what ends up happening.
Have you guys ever had the problem where you do the investigation, your client is telling you all about these claims, and then you guys find nothing, and then your client doesn't accept that? What do you guys do then?
We have had that happen quite a lot. I mean, if the activity persists, we'll come back. We'll do a second investigation. And, I mean, that's really like, what else are you going to do, right? So a lot of the time, if we can't help them, if they're insisting that more stuff is happening than we were able to catch, we will suggest to them, when it's going on, get your phone out and put on the voice recorder and talk to it and ask it, what does it want? Ask it to leave. And then if they catch something, then they can give it to us, and it's just more evidence for us to be able to help them in the long run.
What do you guys do to protect yourself when you go into these places?
Everybody does something different. Personally, on the way to an investigation, I do like kind of a grounding visualization and put like a white light around myself. And I have a big toolbox that has drawers, and one of the drawers is filled with things that I feel comfortable with, things that make me feel safe. So I have like my childhood rosary in there, and some crystals and some sage spray. We had another investigator who felt safe as long as he had like a kit with him in case somebody was possessed. So everybody kind of does something different.
Rob, how about you?
I know that I talked about it a little bit earlier. Is what I do is like I used to meditate a lot, and I used to meditate quite a bit. So I always think about being on the beach, and then what eventually I would do is I would add things to the beach. And then I would visualize me kind of floating around, and then I would also visualize a barrier. And as like I said before, is that I do think of it as being a shield, and the shield that I put around myself isn't it's not a hard metal shield. I think of it as a flexible kind of bluish shield. More or less to say I'm here as a shield, but also that I can actually, they can see me, I can see them, that type of thing, and trying to interact with them, but also keeping that barrier. It's almost like being able to go into like a fishbowl or something along those lines, where I can see the fish, it's right there, but there's a barrier right there. And I keep it in my head that it's there. If I feel it's getting a little bit too rambunctious, boom, I put the barrier up. It's bigger, it's taller, it's stronger, it's thicker. And it's something that I've been noticing I've been able to do over the last couple of years now. And that's why I got back into doing the paranormal, because I can put up that barrier a lot easier. And kind of keep things, if it's really negative, if it wants to tag along, come along with us, then I'll keep that barrier up, and also say you have to leave now. Like if I'm going into my car, that type of thing. I kind of did the same thing what you guys talked about at the beginning. Dave, I think you said something about clearing as well. I kind of did the exact type of thing with some people that I'll take on ghost hunting tours myself. And I'll say to them that you're fine, that everything around you is fine. Nothing can hurt you, and you are fine. And making sure you contact them, and the intention, and making sure that they understand is that they will be okay. That there's nothing that thing, that big bad thing that you think it's the worst thing ever, can do to you. You will be fine. And if you have that feeling, it makes the world of a difference, right? And that person can go to bed and actually have a sleep, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, come to my barn. Let's see if that works.
Yes, I wouldn't mind.
After the way I was attacked last Saturday, come to my barn. Let's see if this actually works. Oh my God. Oh my God. Come on, Mike, I expected a laugh out of you from that one.
My phone, my finger was muted.
I noticed. Jeff, you've been pretty silent today, or this hour. Why don't you jump on in here for a little bit since you're here? Let people hear that sultry Edmontonian voice.
No problem. All right. No, I was going to ask them, being paranormal investigators, you probably get asked this all the time. But for the listeners, I'm just going to go ahead and ask it. If you had to name one place in Calgary City right now that you deem is the most haunted place and are at liberty of saying, what place would that be right now?
Most haunted that I can say. Probably generally I don't believe cemeteries are haunted, but I really think that the Queen's Park Cemetery is really very haunted. And I mean, other than that, like Heritage Park.
How come? What do you think is there?
At the cemetery?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I spend a lot of time there, and I'm like a brick wall when it comes to any kind of psychic ability. So I get whatever I get on film or pictures, and I was there with Rob and another one of our members, and they were seeing like a shadow person, and I was taking pictures, and my camera was trying to focus, like autofocus on something, and it couldn't. And then we were watching it try to autofocus, and this ball appeared, and it all of a sudden snapped a picture of it. And so the picture is kind of fuzzy, but right in the middle is this perfectly clear, like brownish red ball. And that appeared right where the people I was with saw like a shadow figure. So I have to think that there's stuff walking around in there.
What is your most compelling piece of evidence? If you were to present your team at a Paracon, say, what would be your bread and butter to hook people into your conversation?
I think that the biggest thing that we have going for us is the approach that we take, because not a lot of teams take a scientific approach. So I think that's the biggest thing. But as far as evidence goes, we have a great EVP where one of our former investigators, they were investigating a private residence, and the client had said that there was a smell that kept coming out of this one closet. And they had shampooed the carpet and steam cleaned it. They were always spraying it with stuff, and nothing could get rid of the smell. And so they were, the team was sitting in that room doing EVPs. And one of our former members said, "Is there anybody here with us right now?" And you can hear, it's the clearest EVP I've ever heard, somebody say, "We're in the closet." And at the time, they had no idea that it was said, because they go back and listen to it later. But he was sitting right in front of the closet with his back to it, so he was a little creeped out. But I think those kind of EVPs are very compelling to people.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree.
The EVPs are probably the best. Like, you know, I don't know how many times, like I've had cameras that do like bursts, right? And I don't mean flashes, I mean like bursts. And then basically you can just like, and I've seen something right there, taken my camera and I literally had it in my hand, brought it up, take 1,000 like that pictures of it, nothing. But I physically saw it. Right? And then another friend of mine who was about 10 feet away saw it. And then you're like going, great. But EVP is so good because like you can play the whole thing, right? You can play the whole thing and go, well, this is what, you could play the whole tape, things like that. You can even have it on video of you doing the EVP, which is the best because then you could see who's talking. You can do all those types of things. It's the best thing to do, right? Whereas like cameras, it's depending on the camera. Like I know Dave, like you said that you guys got some good pictures and stuff like that. Like it's for us, or for me personally, it's kind of rare that I get a really good picture that I can say, yeah, that's paranormal, right? It's very rare. But EVPs, man, that's good. That's good eating.
Do you guys pull a lot of evidence at each of your investigations, or is it rare?
I guess it depends on what you think of as a lot. Usually, I'd say we'll catch, in like a 2-hour-long investigation, we'll catch like a couple of things on audio. It's kind of rare to catch something on video. And it's so easy for people to debunk video things. So it depends on what you view as a lot and what you view as evidence. Like we have a clip, well, we actually have a few of a house that we are investigating, and whenever the client would come into the room, all of these like orbs would appear around her, and they would go towards her, but whenever she would leave, they were all gone. So to like a hardcore skeptic, that's just dust. But to us, this is very compelling because it was only there when she was there, and I don't really think she was super dusty, so it's got to be something, right?
Yeah, there was even an investigation that both Melissa and myself and another investigator were. No, it's just Melissa and myself. That's right. We went to this place where we actually had both of. I had my K2. She had her K2, and we put it on both sides of this chair, and there was all the power was turned off, right? And the K2s were going into both yellows and that. I don't think they were going into the reds at all, but they were both like, they were there and they would fluctuate at times. So it was like, well, what's that from? And it's literally, you can see the chair. There's nothing around the chair. There's no other, there's no other thing that should be coming from. And it's in the middle of the room. It doesn't make any sense. So, but it's like, it looks cool, but does that mean that there's a ghost sitting there? You can't really say, but it looks cool.
I would agree, and man, that investigation I did at Dave's place last week, and I've never had so many K2 or REM pod hits in probably my career as a ghost hunter.
Well, I think it's about too of learning the tricks of the trade and what they are going to react to. So, for instance, when we were in the post house, Mike, and you guys were filming at the end of the night, you guys didn't know my little trick of putting two K2s right across from each other about 3 feet apart and having the spirit walk in the middle of it. You know,
this is true.
So it really is just defining. You know, the beautiful part of it, continually investigating the same places, you learn the spirits a little bit more than just a one-off, which is difficult at times because you just may not get anything.
No, I agree, and I have started to believe that my REM pod is stupid or doesn't work, but I kind of have a different appreciation for the REM pod now after this past weekend.
Mm-hmm. I want to play with one of those. I want one of those toys. I can honestly say that. I want one of those toys. That was fun. We have about 4.5 minutes left on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Rob, Melissa, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. You know, when we talk about paranormal and the way the paranormal scene is, people saying and talking all about this paranormal unity garbage that is out there, yet everybody preaches it, but nobody actually follows the rules. And with this entire field becoming so competitive for some unknown reason, how do you guys balance your team from getting in and out of the paranormal drama?
We stay very far away from it. We try to have a respect for how everybody else does their thing. Just because it's not the same way as us doesn't mean that it's wrong. So I think as long as we are respectful and use tact when dealing with other groups and other investigators, there's no way that we could get pulled into any drama. And if we did, we would very carefully reverse out of that.
Mm-hmm. Is it just as bad in Calgary as it is everywhere else, though?
Yes. We've tried to connect with other groups, and it doesn't really work all the time. And I think that it's a matter of different groups having different ways of conducting investigations, and people don't want to change how they do things because they think that whatever they're doing is the right way to do it. And so if our way is different, then we're doing it the wrong way. But we have connected with some other groups in Drumheller and one in Edmonton that we can kind of consult with and work with if we have investigations in their areas. And I think that it's really nice. I wish that we were able to connect with more groups.
Imagine what would happen if, say, you took a city like Calgary and actually everybody was working. Yes, you could have your own separate groups because everybody does things different. But if you combine the evidence, imagine how much more power and intrigue the entire paranormal field would have there.
Yes, and I think that's a big problem too, is what some groups view as evidence, other groups don't. So there ends up being fighting as far as the evidence is concerned.
Yeah, and I can also see the idea where it's your baby, right? It's your baby. You've done this, you've done all that stuff that you made it, you got there, you got that evidence and that, and you wanna say, okay, everybody, this is what it is, my newborn baby. You hold it up, you go, this is my evidence. And then all of a sudden somebody from somewhere else just says one comment and it knocks you down. And then it's hard to really, in any type of field, it's hard to really put yourself out there. And I stand up, and I know Melissa does as well, and a lot of people here, probably all of you here, have said, yes, I'm a paranormal researcher. And then in a group and stuff like that, and they look at you, they go, okay. And then they carry on. And then there's others that rip you apart. And it's so sad that we can't come together and not bring each other down. But I can't wait for that day. I think more if we get into the outside the paranormal, outside of not just our own groups, but outside a little bit more, then we can get more things done. Go over to see, get somebody else who's an electrician and see what expertise that they have. See if there's somebody else who's, say, a physicist that knows a lot about a certain type of thing. And then maybe they have information that can help us. If we can gather all that, that'd be amazing. But we can't really. It's sad.
Rob, Melissa, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight. What a pleasure to meet up with you, and good luck in your further research.
Thank you.
Jeff Webster, you were fantastic. Silent but deadly, my friend. Silent but deadly. That's what you were. Mikey Morin, we will see you on Wednesday, June 20th, for the next time you will be on Ghosts of the Great White North. Thank you so much, my friend.
No worries.
You guys hold on. I'm going to wrap this thing up. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot of Sons of Apollo is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself, playing Little Brother is Watching. Tomorrow night on the program, Jamie Sexton is back with The Rebel Planet. It's our one night of the month where we skip the paranormal talk and get right into the alternative news, see what's new and exciting, the story between the stories. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. Want to say a big shout out to everybody listening at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be tonight. Thank you for tuning us in. A big special thank you for everybody taking part on Twitter at hashtag spacedoutradio, in the Spreaker chat room, over in Periscope. You guys were awesome as well. And of course, always good, always on top of things. The Veterans Club on Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers. Thanks for making it a great night. Thanks for sharing our shows. Thanks for making us bigger and better every single night, because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.
We're watching.